Hello and welcome. I'm Iron Gavel from Procrasti-nation, and I'm here in the Attack the B-Team mod pack to discuss one burning question with you. That burning question is ore efficiency. We spend our time mining all these ores, and we want to make sure we get the most out of them that's possible. We have a few options here. We have smeltery, but it only doubles your production. You have to hand operate it, and it takes a ton of clay, sand, and gravel, which sometimes it's a pain in the butt to acquire all that resource. So there's got to be a better option, something that's more efficient and takes a bit less resources to set up. So let's move on from smeltery. And let's switch to something a bit better. This is thermal expansion, and this is a much better option. For one thing, it's fancy, it's easy to automate, it more than doubles your stuff, and it's hands-free. You put your ores in, and you can leave and come back, and it'll be all good. I'm going to give a quick overview of the basics. Thermal expansion machines use electricity. The unit of electricity is the RF, the redstone flux. So you're going to need a dynamo to produce the RF, energy conduit to transfer it, and an energy cell to store it. I'm going to show a quick example here. We have a steam dynamo right here. I'm going to take some coal, give it some coal so it can start building up that RF. Then I'm going to switch to this leadstone over here, set the max input to 80 so it can start taking in input, and as we can see, it starts taking in RF being generated by the dynamo. The machines we're going to be looking at here are the redstone furnace, which is just a furnace, but it's better. The pulverizer is the first part of your ore efficiency solution. It takes ores, pulverizes them into dust at a 2-to-1 ratio. Each of these, once you smelt it, turns into 1 ingot. So you're getting 2 ingots to 1 ore. In addition, it has a special chance depending on the ore, to give you an extra little dust right there. So for example, iron has a 10% chance to give you pulverized ferrous metal as well. So we're hitting a 2.1 efficiency right there. Then we have the induction smelter. This is needed to create other important materials such as hardened glass, and also if you smelt it with sand, gives you the ingots straight at a 2-to-1 ratio. So for example, you give it gold and you will receive 2 gold ingots at a 2-to-1 ratio. For certain recipes, it will also have a chance to drop you rich slag. Now you're asking what rich slag is. Well, if you take this rich slag and replace the sand with the rich slag, instead of giving you 2 ingots to 1 ore, it'll give you 3 ingots to 1 ore. So if you have some ore that you have a hell of a time trying to track down, such as cobalt or ardite, and you stockpile some rich slag, and then when you find it, you can get the very most you can get out of those ores. We're talking a 3.0 efficiency right there. So how do we set this up? First, you're going to want to set up a base and start mining, and the resources you're going to want to acquire to set up your basic thermal expansion setup are as follows. You're going to need 42 iron, 8 gold, 20 copper, 6 lead, 29 redstone, 25 glass, 2 silver, 3 tin, and 1 ferrous. I'd say gather all this amount in ores, as there is some maximization you could do early with the pulverizing, but just to make sure you have for sure enough, gather this many in ores. Miscellaneous resources you will also need include 2 flint, 8 clay, 4 cobblestone, 3 wood, and coal is going to be your fuel, so make sure you get a bunch. Now the first step is going to be making a dynamo, a crescent hammer, and a pulverizer. Crescent hammer is this first item. It's the tool I have right here. What you can do with it is you can rotate machines by right-clicking. You can also shift right-click to make it pop up so you can pick it up without having to mine it. This is the best way to pick up your thermal expansion machines, as certain other methods may end up breaking the machine. Now here is alright, so then the next item we have is the machine frame. This is going to be the basic component in most of the machine recipes. You make it with 4 iron in the corners, 4 glass, and 1 gold ingot. Because I skipped it, the crescent hammer is 3 iron and 1 tin ingot in the center. Now the next thing we're going to need to make are our coils. Now the transmission coil is used for any machine that makes RF, so it's made using a silver and true redstone in the corners. A reception coil is used for any machine that consumes and uses RF, so that's going to be made using 2 redstone in the corners and 1 gold ingot. Lastly, a bunch of the recipes in the future are going to be using gears. The basic recipe is going to be whatever metal you need surrounding an iron. So for example, you want a copper gear, you take an iron stick in the center, surround it in copper. You want an Invar gear for later on, you take Invar and you surround an iron gear in that. Very easy to remember. Then, first step, the steam dynamo. We're going to make that using a transmission coil, 2 copper gears, 3 copper ingots, and 1 redstone. Then we're going to make our pulverizer. This is going to be made using 1 piston, 1 machine frame, 1 reception coil, 2 flint, and 2 copper ingots. Here we have them set up, but even if we put our necessary buckets of water and our coal into the steam dynamo, see, I'm going to put it in, it's generating it, you can see it light up. But if I hit the pulverizer, it's still getting 0 power. The power only comes out of that tip top right there, so you want to right click it with your wrench and make sure it's pointing directly into the pulverizer. As you can see at the top right there, the power is now flowing into the pulverizer, and we can take this gold and silver ore, pop that in. So this 1 silver ore is going to turn into 2 pulverized dust. There we go. And then if we put our gold ore in, we're going to get 2 pulverized gold. We take these 2 pulverized metals, put 1, and we make electrum blend. Electrum blend is going to be necessary for the next step. Take these 2 electrum blend, smelt it, make an ingot out of it, and move on to the next step. Next step we have here is going to be making our cells and energy conduits. This here is going to be a conductance coil. This is going to be used for any machine used for storing RF, such as the cell we're going to be making. This is made using an electrum ingot surrounded by 2 redstone. Then we're going to make the energy cell frame. This is going to be 4 leadstone corners, 4 glass, and 1 block of redstone in the very center. Then we're going to make the actual leadstone energy cell. This is going to be made using 3 copper ingots, the energy cell frame we just made, and the conductance coil we just made. Last step is going to be making the energy conduit. This is going to be made as a batch of 6 with 6 redstone, 2 lead, and 1 glass in the center. Alright, so the setup. We're going to stick our steam dynamo pointing into the energy cell, so it's feeding power into the energy cell. And then the energy cell is going to be putting out power like this. Now you're going to want to click here, go to the configuration, and make sure you go to here. This is going to be the face that the energy conduit is hooked up to, and click it to orange for output. So that way the conduit is actually putting out power to the pulverizer or anything else that is hooked up to your conduits. We're going to take 2 iron and 1 ferrous ore, put that into the pulverizer, and in return we're going to get 4 pulverized iron and 2 ferrous metal. We're going to take these and put it into the crafting station. We're going to use it set up like this at a 2:1 ratio to make Invar blend. We're going to make 6 Invar blend, smelt that, and that will get you 6 Invar ingots, which we're going to use in the next step. We only actually need 2 Invar for the next step, but we can use the spare 4 Invar ingots to upgrade our energy cell into a hardened energy cell just by surrounding it in Invar ingots. Last bit, we're going to go on to step 3. We're going to be making a redstone furnace, a smeltery, and an aqueous accumulator. First, we're going to take a look at the aqueous accumulator. Our first ingredient is going to be the pneumatic servo. This is going to be made with 2 iron, 2 glass, and 1 redstone. We're going to use this to make the aqueous accumulator, which is made with 1 machine frame, 1 bucket, 1 pneumatic servo, and 2 glass and 2 tin ingots. Because this machine is made with a pneumatic servo, it doesn't require redstone flux to operate. It's an autonomous machine that can just be placed somewhere and it will go. Now this is going to be the induction smelter. It's going to be made using a bucket, a machine frame, a redstone reception coil, 2 copper ingots, and those 2 invar ingots that we made prior. Then we're going to take a look at the redstone furnace. This is going to be made using a redstone, 2 bricks, 1 machine frame, 1 reception coil, and 2 copper ingots. Here is how we're going to set this up. Now, I'm sure in the past you got a bit tired sticking your water buckets into the steam dynamo. Well, you don't need to worry about that anymore. You take the aqueous accumulator, surround it with 2 water sources, and as you can see, it's generating water here from the 2 water sources. You go into configuration, click here, right? So right now there's no border. If I click again, there is an orange border around it showing that this water being generated here is getting output of the right side into the dynamo. So now the dynamo is supplied with water and we can just fill it with coal and it will supply power to the leadstone energy cell. We're going to go into the configuration, make sure this side is set to output so that our machines can receive power. And there you go. You've got all the necessary machines to achieve maximum ore efficiency perfectly set up. Last step you're going to want to remember is if you have your machines lined up like this, make doubly sure to shift click all the sides here in the configuration so that your pulverizer doesn't accidentally output its materials into the induction smelter, which might cause some very unlucky mishaps. Now, the recipes for putting ores into the pulverizer and the induction smelter give varying returns, so you might be wondering which ores you want to put in the pulverizer versus which ones you want to put into the induction smelter. The easy mnemonic to remember that is rags to riches. Only stick your redstone, aluminum, and gold ores into the induction smelter. These have a higher chance to give you rich slag than they do to return you something in the pulverizer. Everything else has a much better chance to give you something good in the pulverizer. Most recipes usually only have a 5% chance to give you rich slag, whereas these 3 have a 10 or higher % chance to give you rich slag. You can use the rich slag for your cobalt and ardite ores, which give really mediocre results in both the induction smelter and pulverizer basic recipes. And there you go, that's ore efficiency accomplished. I'm Iron Gavel from the Procrasti-nation, and if you liked this video and found it helpful, please subscribe. I hope you have a great day.